Urgent breaking news. Josh Pedraz formally names the Director General of the Civil Guard and the Deputy Operational Director of the Civil Guard as suspects in the so-called Cloacas case. Extremely serious information. Let's begin. Hello everyone and welcome to a new edition of Medidas Cautelares, urgent and extremely important edition. If you follow Medidas Cautelares, you already knew because I reported it 2 days ago, but now it's official. The judge of the National Court, Santiago Pedraz, has just formally named the Director General of the Civil Guard, Mercedes Gonzalez, and her second-in-command, the Deputy Operational Director, Manuel Llamas, as suspects. Within the framework of the so-called Sepia plot, the Lere case, the so-called Cloacas case, you know it has many names, they have been summoned to testify as suspects. Pay close attention because we have the court order from the judge of the National Court, Santiago Pedraz, and we are going to tell you about it and show it to you next. Before that, as always, if you haven't done it yet, remember to subscribe to the Medidas Cautelares channel. We're about to hit 140,000 subscribers. Come on, let's give it one last push to reach 150,000 before August. And now, pay attention to the screen. We have the court order from the judge of the National Court, Santiago Pedraz, fresh out of the oven. This decision is extremely important and please, first of all, tremendous work, monumental work. From the Central Operational Unit of the Civil Guard, from the Anti-Corruption Prosecutor's Office, from Alejandro Luzon, and from the Judge of the National Court, Santiago Pedraz. The state responds against corruption, and this is proof of it. Here you have the order that just came out, the ruling from the Judge of the National Court, Santiago Pedraz, in which the leadership of the pro-Sanchez Civil Guard is formally named as suspects, nothing more and nothing less. Central Court of Instances, Criminal Section, Chamber 5 that is, the Central Investigating Court Number 5 of the National Court, which is what Bolaños has made us call it with his little reform. Preliminary Proceedings 150/2025, Order from the Honorable Magistrate Judge, Mr. Pedraz, in Madrid, July 2nd, 2026, 150/2025. Order from the Honorable Magistrate Judge, Mr. Pedraz, in Madrid, July 2nd, 2026. With the previous documents from the public prosecutor and the Unified Private Prosecution requesting the carrying out of proceedings, let them be joined and, in the interest of the court, Section Plaza, that is to say, the carrying out of proceedings, let them be joined and in the interest of the right to defense. It is appropriate to summon Lieutenant General Manuel Llamas for questioning as a suspect, Deputy Operational Director, Instruction 5 of the National Guard as carried out by Mercedes Gonzalez Fernandez, Director General of the Civil Guard. Since, attention, in the case, there are indications of their responsibility in acts that, prima facie, without prejudice to what may result from the subsequent investigation of the case, could constitute the elements of a continued offense of administrative misconduct. From Article 404 of the Penal Code, in relation to Article 74 of the Penal Code, and an offense against the administration of justice from Article 464.1 of the Penal Code, which, in translation, is obstruction of justice. To this end, the date of July 16, 2026 at 10:15 in the morning is set, that is, at 10:15 in the morning. If they haven't resigned, if they have even a minimum of shame and honor left, we should see the General Director and the Number 2 of the Civil Guard parading through the National Court as defendants. They should be charged already. It's a matter of minutes. We'll see if they do it. Judge Pedraz says it's not appropriate, pending the outcome of ongoing proceedings, to summon as an investigated party Leonardo Marcos Gonzalez, former Director General of the Civil Guard from June 2023 to September 2024, to the extent that the conduct described regarding him does not in itself constitute any criminal offense. As for the rest of the proceedings requested by the public prosecutor, they are hereby granted. To the extent that Jacobo Teguelo stated that he was the legal advisor of the PSOE political party from October 2024 to June 2025, requires said party to identify the person who signed the legal advisory contract with Jacobo Teguelo. Watch out, there are rough times ahead in the PSOE during those dates, indicating the position held and the enabling title or agreement under which they acted. That is to say, Judge Pedraz also requests, at the request of the prosecutor's office, attention, that the PSOE identify the person who hired the lawyer tied to the Cloacas network, Jacobo Teguelo. This procedure, says Pedraz, must be carried out by a person designated with the power of representation of the aforementioned political party, informing them of their right not to provide any information or documentation that could be incriminating for said legal entity according to Article 31 bis of the Penal Code. Attach the collected documentation from the Nationality and State Department to the case, informing the Ministry of the Presidency, Justice, and Relations with the Courts about Nervis Villalobos' nationality file. The unit should keep a copy to continue the procedure. Also be careful when providing any documentation, with the acting unit keeping a working copy to be able to proceed. Incriminating for said legal entity, Article Abolaños Code, be careful with Abolaños as well. Require the entity or public company, Urban Waste of Jaén, to immediately provide or submit, in the presence of agents from the Central Operative Unit of the Civil Guard, the following documentation and information. Employment relationship that this company has maintained with Miriam Serrano, providing information about the type of employment contract, the duration period, duties performed, reasons for hiring, hierarchical dependency under which she carried out her duties. And, if applicable, the reasons for termination of the employment relationship, as well as documentation or information related to the selection process followed by the company for the hiring of Miriam Serrano, detailing the person or department within the company responsible for the selection and hiring of this person, as well as the description of the selection process followed to carry out their hiring. Candidates, participants in the selection process, and selection criteria applied for evaluating the candidates. Who is Miriam Serrano? Well, if I'm not mistaken, I think it was Miriam Serrano, let's confirm it, the complainant against the anti-corruption prosecutor Jose Grinda. That's right, Miriam Serrano. What does Judge Pedraz mean by this order, by this ruling? That the hiring of the complainant against the anti-corruption prosecutor Jose Grinda, was going to be investigated in a company. In other words, they're investigating whether, in exchange for reporting the anti-corruption prosecutor, Jose Grinda, this woman, Miriam Serrano, might have been given a job in a company. As you can see, here is the information in real-time live. As the last point of Judge Pedraz's order, obtained for inclusion in the case, the testimony of the statements made by Carmen Pano in February 2025 in the preliminary proceedings. 47/2024 from the Central Court of Instance, Court 5, and in the special case of the Supreme Court. That is what Carmen Pano said will also be investigated. We understand, in case there's any connection, the bags in Pedraz, the Villa Fuel license, everything is, as I've always told you, everything is connected. And this is the important information. Extremely important information, very serious, urgent, breaking news. The judge of the National Court, Santiago Pedraz, has just charged the Director General of the Civil Guard under Pedro Sanchez, Mercedes Gonzalez, and the Deputy Operational Director, DAO, of the Civil Guard, Manuel Llamas, for continuous malfeasance and obstruction of justice. Both will have to testify as investigated parties. Judge Pedraz of the National Court on July 16th. Extremely serious breaking news that we have just learned, and that, through Pedraz precautionary measures, this is starting to pick up tremendous momentum. All of this, of course, is within the framework of the so-called CEPI plot, or crimes of the deep state, such as malfeasance and obstruction of justice. Of course, what an outstanding job by the Guardia Civil's Central Operational Unit, the Anti-Corruption Prosecutor's Office led by Alejandro Luzon, and the Judge of the National Court, Santiago Pedraz. This is, of course, a turning point. Mercedes Gonzalez and Manuel Llamas, the leadership of the Sanchez-aligned Guardia Civil, should have already resigned by now. Of course, any updates on this matter, on all the corruption cases that are closing in on us in Spain, you will have them here on Medidas Cautelares with Miguel Ángel Pérez. That's it for this edition of Medidas Cautelares with Miguel Ángel Pérez. I hope you enjoyed it. You can become members like the chosen ones for under €3 a month, or the supreme ones for under €7 a month. We've broken the record. We have surpassed 110 members. Thank you all very much. Just like we're breaking records with subscribers, we're about to reach 140,000 and the goal, as you know, is to reach 150,000 before August. You can also make contributions via Vikium at 627-556-3706-2-7-5-5-6-3-7-0. To continue supporting this community, which after all is your community, Medidas Cautelares with Miguel Ángel Pérez. None of this would be possible without you. You already know that I love your messages, your comments, your opinions, and don't forget to hit the like button so this information spreads a lot on YouTube. So it reaches a lot of people. As I always say, the key is making sure everyone gets this information, since information is power. See you soon.